Fremont, California, March 12, 2021, 1:42 a.m. Tesla's Gigafactory pulsed with robotic precision, building the future of electric cars. Security cameras recorded what became 23 infamous minutes. Forklift operator Eddie Lopez moving a pallet of crates across the floor, appearing every bit the dependable worker he had been for 6 years. But those crates held $33 million in high-density lithium batteries, the lifeblood of Tesla's vehicles. Instead of reaching the production line, they were loaded into an unmarked semi with forged papers. By 2:03 a.m., the truck was on I-880, carrying technology coveted by criminals, foreign buyers, and desperate startups. By morning, Eddie and the truck were gone. Tesla spent billions protecting trade secrets, said Dr. Michael Rodriguez, but they overlooked the materials themselves. Federal investigators never found Eddie or the stolen batteries, leaving behind one of the boldest industrial thefts in U.S. history. Before we continue, hit subscribe, drop a like, and comment what city you're watching from. I love seeing how far these stories reach. The man behind the forklift was Eduardo Eddie Lopez, 38, a night shift materials handler at Tesla's Gigafactory. Since 2014, he had spent 6 years moving the very components that powered the electric revolution: lithium batteries, rare earths, and electronics worth millions, while barely surviving in one of America's most expensive regions. Hired during Tesla's rapid expansion, Eddie was considered the perfect employee. Certified, reliable, and trusted to move inventory more valuable than most people would see in a lifetime. Supervisors praised his overtime, his safety training, and his spotless attendance record. He was exactly the kind of worker Tesla needed, said operations expert Dr. Jennifer Liu. But Eddie's private life unraveled. A 2018 divorce consumed nearly 40% of his wages in alimony, while soaring Bay Area rents left him struggling to survive. By 2020, after Tesla cut overtime during the pandemic, he was sleeping in his car, showering at the factory gym, and borrowing from loan sharks just to keep up. It was then that Eddie's intimate knowledge of Tesla's systems began to look like something else: opportunity. He knew how inventory moved, when audits happened, and where security was weakest. He also knew Tesla's lithium batteries were worth more per pound than gold, coveted by competitors, criminal networks, and foreign governments. Eddie had both the access and the desperation, explained corporate security consultant Dr. David Torres. That combination set the stage for the biggest industrial theft in automotive history. By 2021, lithium batteries had become the petroleum of the electric age, a strategic resource that nations hoarded, corporations fought over, and criminal organizations stole with increasing sophistication. Tesla's proprietary battery technology was particularly valuable because the company had achieved energy density levels that competitors couldn't replicate. Tesla's lithium batteries represented the cutting edge of electric vehicle technology, explains automotive industry analyst Dr. Sarah Kim. Their energy density, charging speed, and longevity were years ahead of anything else on the market. Possessing Tesla batteries meant possessing the blueprint for the future of transportation. Eddie's position in Tesla's battery storage facility had given him front-row access to the company's most valuable intellectual property in physical form. Each battery pack contained proprietary chemical formulations, cooling systems, and management electronics that represented billions of dollars in research and development. Eddie wasn't just handling batteries, he was handling trade secrets, explains industrial espionage specialist Agent Robert Chen. Foreign intelligence services, criminal organizations, and competing manufacturers would pay astronomical prices for access to Tesla's battery technology. The black market demand for Tesla batteries was driven by multiple factors. Legitimate companies sought to reverse engineer Tesla's innovations for their own products. Criminal organizations used stolen batteries to power illegal operations, ranging from cryptocurrency mining to drug manufacturing. Foreign governments wanted the technology to reduce their dependence on American electric vehicle imports. Tesla batteries had become the most valuable industrial target in the world, observes international trade security expert Dr. Michael Torres. They represented both immediate financial value and long-term strategic advantage for anyone who could acquire them illegally. Eddie had been inadvertently collecting intelligence about this black market demand through overheard conversations between Tesla executives and their security consultants. Management was increasingly concerned about industrial espionage attempts and had implemented new security measures to protect their intellectual property. Tesla's security briefings revealed just how valuable our battery technology had become to criminal organizations, admits former security director Dr. Patricia Valdez. We were receiving intelligence reports about attempted thefts, corporate espionage operations, and black market sales of stolen Tesla components. But Eddie also noticed that Tesla's security measures were focused primarily on protecting information rather than physical materials. The company had elaborate systems to prevent digital theft of design specifications, but relatively basic procedures for securing the actual batteries that embodied those designs. Tesla's security philosophy assumed that intellectual property theft would occur through hacking rather than physical theft, explained cybersecurity expert Dr. Jennifer Torres. They had sophisticated digital security, but conventional warehouse security for materials worth millions of dollars. Eddie's technical knowledge had also taught him to recognize the specific battery configurations that were most valuable on black markets. Certain battery packs contained rare earth elements and proprietary electronics that made them worth far more than their basic lithium content would suggest. Eddie had developed expertise that most Tesla engineers didn't possess, admits Dr. Kim. He understood not just the technical specifications of different battery types, but also their relative values in illegal markets. This combination of market knowledge, technical expertise, and detailed understanding of Tesla's security procedures created an opportunity that Eddie had been unconsciously cataloging for months. As his personal financial situation became increasingly desperate, these observations transformed from interesting details into the foundation of a criminal enterprise. Eddie's plan was sophisticated because he understood both the legitimate and illegitimate sides of the lithium battery market, explains Agent Santos. He knew exactly what to steal, how much it was worth, and where he could sell it. His theft wasn't opportunistic. It was strategically planned to maximize both immediate profits and long-term viability. The final element that made Eddie's plan feasible was his discovery that Tesla's inventory tracking systems had significant lag, times between physical movement and digital recording. Batteries could be moved between storage areas for hours or even days before their new locations were verified in the company's computer systems. Eddie identified a critical vulnerability in our inventory management, admits former logistics director Maria Rodriguez. During high production periods, physical inventory audits might be delayed for 48 to 72 hours. This created windows where missing materials wouldn't be immediately detected. As March 2021 approached, Eddie had assembled all the elements necessary to execute what would become the most audacious industrial theft in American manufacturing history. March 2021 brought Eddie Lopez to the final stages of planning his theft, driven by financial pressures that had reached crisis levels and an opportunity that seemed almost too perfect to ignore. His ex-wife's attorney had filed motions seeking increased alimony based on Tesla's stock price surge, creating legal jeopardy that threatened to consume even more of Eddie's inadequate income. Eddie's situation had reached the point where legitimate solutions were no longer viable, explains financial counselor Dr. Angela Martinez. His court-ordered obligations exceeded his take-home pay, and he faced the prospect of wage garnishment that would make basic survival impossible. The specific opportunity that Eddie would exploit had emerged from Tesla's rapid production scaling during the electric vehicle boom. The company was manufacturing batteries faster than they could integrate them into vehicles, creating temporary storage situations where enormous values of materials sat in warehouses awaiting shipment to other facilities. Tesla's success had created logistical challenges that nobody had anticipated, explains supply chain expert Dr. Michael Chen. We were producing batteries so quickly that our storage and shipping systems couldn't keep pace. Valuable materials were sitting in warehouses for weeks awaiting transport. Eddie's plan leveraged every aspect of knowledge he had accumulated during 6 years of materials handling at Tesla. He understood exactly which battery configurations were most valuable, when inventory audits occurred, and how shipping procedures could be exploited to move materials without triggering security alerts. Eddie's planning was sophisticated because he understood Tesla's operations from the inside, explains industrial theft specialist Agent Robert Park. He knew when materials were most vulnerable, which procedures created opportunities, and how long he would have before his theft was detected. Eddie's preparation involved creating infrastructure for both the theft and his subsequent escape. He had rented warehouse space in Nevada under a false business identity, established contact with black market battery dealers in Southeast Asia, and arranged for transportation that could move the stolen materials across state lines. Eddie spent months creating a complete criminal enterprise, explains money laundering expert Dr. Jennifer Liu. He had identified buyers, arranged logistics, and prepared financial systems that could convert stolen batteries into clean money. The technical challenges of Eddie's plan were significant. Tesla's battery packs weighed approximately 1,200 pounds each and required specialized handling equipment. Moving $33 million worth of batteries would require precise coordination of forklifts, trucks, and storage facilities. Eddie's theft required the same logistical sophistication that Tesla used for legitimate shipments, observes Dr. Chen. He essentially had to create a parallel distribution system that could handle millions of dollars worth of materials without triggering any security systems. Eddie identified Friday night, March 12, 2021, as the optimal date for his theft. The timing fell during a production lull when inventory audits would be delayed, security staffing was reduced, and his absence wouldn't be noticed until the following Monday. Eddie's timing was perfect for multiple reasons, explains Tesla security consultant Dr. Sarah Torres. Weekend shifts had minimal supervision, inventory audits were postponed until business days, and any unusual activity would be attributed to production flexibility rather than criminal intent. The psychological preparation was as challenging as the technical planning. Eddie was about to betray the trust of colleagues who had worked alongside him for 6 years and destroy relationships that had sustained him through difficult periods. Eddie struggled with the personal implications of his plan, observes criminal psychologist Dr. Patricia Rodriguez. He understood that his theft would harm people he cared about, but his financial desperation had reached the point where conventional morality seemed like a luxury he couldn't afford. As March 12th approached, Eddie had transformed from a trusted Tesla employee into a carefully prepared industrial criminal. But he was also about to discover that executing a perfect theft requires not just planning an opportunity, but the psychological capacity to live with the consequences of betraying everything he had spent years building. March 12th, 2021, began like any other Friday night shift for Eddie Lopez, who arrived at Tesla's Fremont facility at his usual 10 p.m. start time, carrying the same battered lunchbox he had used for 6 years. His badge scan registered normally in Tesla's security system, and his supervisor noted nothing unusual about his demeanor or behavior. Eddie seemed completely normal when he started his shift, recalls production supervisor Maria Chen. If anything, he appeared more focused than usual. He went through his equipment checklist methodically and seemed particularly attentive to safety procedures. For the first 3 hours of his shift, Eddie performed his standard materials handling duties with the same reliability that had made him a valued employee. He moved battery components between storage areas, loaded materials for morning production runs, and maintained the precise organization that Tesla's just-in-time manufacturing required. Eddie's work during the early part of his shift was exemplary, explains former colleague David Rodriguez. He was handling materials efficiently, following all safety protocols, and even helped troubleshoot a conveyor problem. There was nothing that suggested he was planning anything other than routine work. But at 1:30 a.m., as the factory entered its quietest period of the 24-hour cycle, Eddie began the sequence of actions that would change his life forever. Eddie had studied the facility's rhythms for years, admits former security director Dr. Angela Martinez. He knew exactly when foot traffic was minimal, when supervisors were focused on other areas, and when he could work in sensitive areas without attracting attention. Eddie's first step was positioning his forklift near the high-value battery storage area where Tesla's most advanced lithium packs awaited shipment to overseas manufacturing facilities. The batteries he selected represented the pinnacle of electric vehicle technology. High-density packs worth approximately $50,000 each. Eddie chose his targets with expertise that would have impressed Tesla's engineers, observes battery technology specialist Dr. Michael Kim. He selected the most advanced battery configurations, units that contain proprietary electronics and rare earth elements worth far more than standard lithium packs. At 1:37 a.m., Eddie began loading pallets of battery packs onto his forklift, moving them toward what appeared to be a routine relocation between storage areas. Security cameras recorded his activities, but his movements were completely authorized and appeared consistent with standard materials handling procedures. Eddie's theft was invisible because it looked exactly like legitimate work, explains industrial security expert Robert Park. He was using his authorized access and equipment to move valuable materials. Without knowing his ultimate destination, his activities were indistinguishable from routine operations. The critical moment came at 1:42 a.m. when Eddie approached loading dock 7, where an unmarked semi-truck was waiting with paperwork that appeared to authorize a legitimate shipment. The truck's documentation was sophisticated enough to pass casual inspection, and the driver wore appropriate Tesla contractor identification. Eddie's logistics were flawless, admits Dr. Martinez. The truck had proper paperwork, the driver had appropriate credentials, and the loading procedure followed standard protocols. Everything appeared completely legitimate until we conducted detailed investigation. Eddie spent the next 18 minutes methodically loading $33 million worth of lithium battery packs into the waiting truck. Security footage shows him working with calm efficiency, taking care to secure the materials properly, and maintain the professional standards that had characterized his 6 years of service. Eddie handled the stolen batteries with the same care he had shown during thousands of legitimate shipments, observes Dr. Kim. Even while committing the largest industrial theft in company history, he maintained the safety standards that protected both the materials and his co-workers. The most dangerous moment of Eddie's theft occurred when night supervisor Jennifer Liu conducted a routine patrol of the loading dock area. Liu later told investigators that she had briefly observed the loading operation, but assumed it was authorized weekend shipment activity. "I saw Eddie loading materials and everything appeared normal," Liu recalls. The truck had proper documentation, the driver seemed professional, and Eddie was following standard safety procedures. There was nothing that suggested criminal activity. At 2:03 a.m., the truck pulled away from loading dock 7 and merged into traffic on Interstate 880, carrying $33 million worth of Tesla's most advanced battery technology toward Nevada. Eddie returned to his routine duties, completing his shift with the same professionalism he had demonstrated for 6 years. Eddie's execution was perfect because he made his crime invisible, reflects FBI Industrial Crimes Specialist Agent Maria Santos. He committed theft while being recorded by security cameras, used his legitimate access as camouflage, and maintained normal behavior patterns that deflected suspicion. By 2:30 a.m., Eddie had clocked out of his final shift at Tesla and driven away from the factory where he had spent 6 years building the future of transportation. Behind him, $33 million worth of stolen lithium batteries was heading toward a new life that Eddie had spent months planning. Eddie executed one of the most sophisticated industrial thefts in American manufacturing history, reflects Agent Santos. His crime was perfect in its planning, flawless in its execution, and devastating in its impact on Tesla's production operations. But perfection in theft, as Eddie would soon discover, doesn't guarantee perfection in survival. The theft of $33 million in lithium batteries from Tesla's Fremont facility wasn't discovered until Monday morning, March 15th, when production manager Sarah Chen arrived to coordinate battery shipments for the week's manufacturing schedule. The delay occurred because weekend inventory audits were postponed until the beginning of each business week. "Our standard procedure called for comprehensive inventory verification every Monday morning," Chen explains. Weekend production was typically limited, so major discrepancies weren't expected during that period. Chen's routine began with reconciling computer records of battery inventory with physical counts in the storage facilities. When she attempted to locate specific battery packs scheduled for integration into luxury vehicle production, she discovered that approximately 660 high-value units were missing from their assigned storage locations. "When I couldn't find the batteries in our primary storage area, I initially assumed they had been moved to overflow storage or were already in production queues," Chen recalls. Missing materials usually indicated scheduling confusion rather than criminal activity. The investigation escalated when Chen confirmed that the missing batteries hadn't been moved to any legitimate location within Tesla's manufacturing complex. More alarmingly, the computer system showed no record of authorized movement for the missing inventory. The combination of missing batteries and no system records immediately suggested either major procedural failure or deliberate theft, explains former security director Dr. Angela Martinez. "We implemented emergency inventory protocols and began reviewing all weekend activity. The review of security footage revealed the scope of Eddie's deception. Cameras clearly showed him loading battery pallets onto his forklift and transporting them toward loading dock 7, where they were loaded into an unmarked truck that had no legitimate authorization to be at the facility. Watching the surveillance footage was shocking because Eddie's theft was so methodical and professional, Dr. Martinez admits. Every action appeared routine until we realized the ultimate destination was unauthorized. Eddie had weaponized his legitimate access to commit theft in plain sight. The immediate investigation focused on determining whether Eddie had acted alone or as part of a larger conspiracy. Financial analysis revealed that the theft had required sophisticated planning and resources that seemed beyond the capabilities of a single factory worker. Eddie's theft was too sophisticated for an impulsive crime, explains FBI Industrial Crimes Investigator Agent Robert Park. The logistics, documentation, and coordination suggested either extensive planning or involvement with professional criminal organizations. Tesla faced immediate crisis management challenges. The theft represented not just financial loss, but potential compromise of proprietary technology that could benefit competitors or foreign governments. The company needed to balance law enforcement cooperation with protection of trade secrets. Tesla's response had to address multiple constituencies, explains corporate crisis consultant Dr. Michael Rodriguez. Shareholders needed reassurance about security procedures, law enforcement needed information for their investigation, and competitors couldn't be allowed to benefit from our compromised technology. The company ultimately decided to cooperate fully with federal investigators while implementing comprehensive security reforms. Tesla issued a carefully worded public statement acknowledging a security incident involving manufacturing materials, but avoided specific details about the theft's scope or nature. Tesla's public communication strategy was designed to maintain confidence while providing minimal information that competitors or criminals could exploit, Dr. Rodriguez explains. They needed to acknowledge the incident without revealing vulnerabilities. The FBI investigation quickly identified Eddie as the primary suspect, but he had vanished as completely as the stolen batteries. His apartment was empty, his car was found abandoned in Reno, and there was no trace of either Eddie or the $33 million worth of stolen technology. Eddie had executed a disappearance that was almost as sophisticated as his theft, Agent Santos explains. He had eliminated all connections to his previous life and had apparently prepared for extended evasion of law enforcement pursuit. The investigation would ultimately involve multiple federal agencies, international cooperation efforts, and one of the largest manhunts in industrial crime history. But Eddie Lopez and Tesla's stolen battery technology had vanished into a global underworld where cutting-edge technology could be converted into untraceable wealth.